Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This time we are gonna build a full stack Crude application using MERN Stack. Crude stands for create, read, update and delete. And MERN stands for MongoDB, Express.js, React.js and Node.js. For the front end, we are gonna use React.js, tailwind CSS to style our application, and finally React query to fetch our data from the backend. For the backend, we will use Node and Express.js to make HTTP requests such as get, post, delete, and put. We will be using Mart to upload images to the server, Postman to test our API, and MongoDB database to store all the data. Now let's see how our application looks like. For each contact user, we will have a separate card where we will add their data such as profile image, full name, email, phone number, and date of birth. Using this button, we will be redirected to the form page where we can add a new contact user. In this form, we can add the contact user data. And if I click the submit button, you can see we will have a new card immediately without refreshing the page. That is the power of React query. Down here we have two buttons. The first one will delete the card and the second one will update. Now if I click the second one, we will be redirected to the form page again. But this time all the inputs are being filled with the user data. The form title and button have been changed to the update text. I can add an extra text here and change the birthday. Now as soon as I click the update button, you can see that the card is being updated immediately. Alright guys, that's what we are gonna build in this video. I hope this video will be helpful for you. Before we start making this project, make sure to like the video and give a subscribe to my channel. Okay guys, so now I'm inside the VS Code. I'm gonna open my terminal and inside here I need to change my directory. So in this case it's gonna be desktop. And now I'm gonna make a new folder here using make_dir contact app. Now I'm gonna navigate to that folder. Okay. Now inside this folder I'm gonna have two more folders. The first one is gonna be client and the second one is gonna be server. So the client folder will hold all my front-end code and the server will hold all the back-end codes. So at first I'm gonna make a new file and call that index.js. Now inside the terminal, at first navigate to the server folder and then write npm init-y to generate a package JSON. Okay. Now I'm gonna change this name. Now we need to install some dependencies and I'm gonna write npm install express nodman molter.env and mongoose. Molter to upload our images.env environment variable, mongoose for the database. Okay. Now hit the enter. Alright, as you can see we have all the files inside the package.json. So I just open the index.js and in here first I'm gonna import express and then .env. Now down here we need to call this express.js and now we need to have a port to open this API in the browser. So I'm gonna write app.listen. The port is coming from the environment variable. So I'm gonna write process.env.port an arrow function, and inside here I'm gonna write console log app is running at port and this port which is coming from environment variable. Okay. Now I need to active the .env file. Okay. And inside this server I need to have a .env file. Now I'm gonna write port, and the port is gonna be 5000. Okay. Now if I write node index.js, you can see that my console log is printed in the terminal. Alright. Now as you can see, if I change the text here, I won't get any update in the terminal, and it will be boring to keep writing node index.js over and over again. Okay, for that cause, I have installed the node-man. I just open the package.json here, and inside the scripts, we need to write start node-man index.js. Now if I run npm start in the terminal, you can see that the app is running. And if I change something in here in this console log, you can see that the change will be printed immediately inside the terminal. Alright. Now let's write our first API. So the first API is going to be a GET request, and the first parameter is going to be this path, which is only slash. So slash means it's going to be inside the home route, and following that we need to have a request and response. Okay, so the request is what is we are sending to the browser, and response is what is we are receiving from the browser. Okay, now down here we need to write rest.status 200 .json, and this is the main page of the API. So using response.status 200, it means that we tell the browser that this request should be successful. So status 200 means successful in HTTP request, and then the JSON will print a text for us once the request was successful. Okay, now if I open the browser, and inside here I'm gonna look for localhost 5000, you can see that the text is printed in the browser. Okay. Alright guys, you just made your first API request successfully. Now let's move forward and connect our database. So I just open a new tab, and inside here I'm gonna look for MongoDB database, and in here you can see a sign in button over here. Now click the sign in. Inside here you can see a sign up button. So if you have an account, you can just sign in, but if you don't have, just click the sign up, and it will have some steps that you can take, and finally sign in into your account. Okay, now once you are signed in inside your account, you will see this dashboard here, and if you open the database access, inside here you can add a new database. So in this case I have already added my database. Just click add a new database user, and you will get this. Okay, here if I click edit, I can edit my password. So you can set a password. Later on you will need this password to connect your MongoDB to your application. Okay, alright, now let's connect that. So I just go back to the database and click this connect button. Down here you can see there is written MongoDB for VS Code. So just click that, and you need to just copy this URL. Okay, just come back to your VS Code. Inside the environment variable, just write your variable name and paste your URL. As you can see, your username will be printed there along with the password. So just write the password that you just added inside your database. Okay, now we need to make a new folder, and I'm gonna call that database. Inside here we need to have a database.js file. Okay, now first of all we need to import Mongoose. Okay, and down here we need to write export const connect db is equal to arrow function, so it's gonna be a synchronous function. Now inside this function we need to have try catch block, and inside try you need to write await mongoose.connect. And we need to write process.env.database. So this is the URL that we just get from the MongoDB. And inside the catch, you just write console log and error. Okay. Now once the operation is successful, you just write console log MongoDB connected. Okay. And following this database URL, just make a new block and paste these two codes. Okay. And that's it. By the way, it's not ES6, so I just remove this export, and instead I'm gonna write module.export is equal to connectdb. Okay. So I just open the index.js, and we need to import that connectdb function here. And don't forget to add this .js here, otherwise it will not work. Okay. So now all you need to do is just paste this function inside this app.lesson. Okay. Now if I open the terminal, you can see that MongoDB connected. Okay. Now our MongoDB is successfully connected to our server. Alright. Now inside the server, we need to have a new folder for our modules. So we need to specify our modules in here. So I'm gonna have a file inside, and also another folder called routes. So we are gonna write all the APIs inside this folder. Okay. So first of all, inside the module folders, I'm gonna write contact.js, and inside here we need to specify all the modules. So at first we need to import mongoose. Okay. And down here we need to write a new schema, mongoose.schema, and this block. Inside here we need to write full name. The type is gonna be string, and required is gonna be true. So this is the type of our text, which is string, and the required means that the input shouldn't be empty. Alright. So I just copy and paste that for the others. The second one is gonna be email. And finally, we need to have a birth for our birthday, and the type is gonna be date. So after this block, you need to add a comma and write timestamps is true. It will add the date of when our contact user is added to our database. Okay. Now we need to export that. So I'm gonna write const contact is equal to mongoose.module. Now you need to specify the module name in here. So the module name is gonna be contact, and this contact is schema function. Okay. Now down here you need to write modules.export is equal to contact. Alright. We are gonna use this function when we interact with the database. Now following this timestamps, you can add the collection names as well. So you can write collection name is equal to contact. Now I just come back to the routes, and inside here we need to have a file. At first we need to import our express. Okay. And now down here I need to write const route is equal to express.router function. So this function will help us make routes in our API. Okay. From now on, we will make our HTTP request using this route. So down here, I'm gonna write route.get our path and request response. Now inside here, again we need to write response.status to 100, JSON, and this text. Okay. And finally, we need to export this route so we can have access to this route inside the index.js. Now let's open the index.js. Inside here we need to import that route. Okay. And the way we can make routes inside the Node.js is you need to write app.use and your route's name. Following that, just paste your route function. Okay. And that's it. Now I'm gonna comment out my first API request. Now if I open the localhost 5000, you can see that the home page has no text. But if I navigate to /contact, now you can see that the text from the contacts route is displayed. This is how you can make route inside the Node.js and Express.js. Okay. Now if I uncomment that, And if I come back and refresh the page, now you can see that the main API is displayed in the browser. Alright, and we can navigate back to the contact. Now you can see that the text from the contacts route is displayed. And by the way, you can add API in here too, so it doesn't matter. Now if you write here API/contact, you can see that the text is printed. Alright guys, now let's make our next API. So the next API is gonna be post request. So I just come back, and in here I'm gonna write route.post. My route is gonna be /create request response, and again it's gonna be asynchronous function. Inside here we need to write try and catch block. Inside this try and catch block, we need to write const new contact is equal to. Now we need to import our contact module from contact.js. Okay, and following that we need to write await contact.create. Now inside this parentheses we need to specify what do we want to create. So if you remember before, I said request is what we are sending to the browser. So in here we need to specify request.body. So request.body is what is coming from your input in the front end. Okay, for example, if I go to browser, and you can write API contact/create, and the form will get this question mark. So full name is equal to empty string and email is equal to empty string. Okay, so this is what is coming from the form, and this is called request.body. Alright. Okay, now we need to write response.status 200 again .json, and inside this JSON we are gonna have a block. Status is gonna be success, and we need to print this new contact variable. Okay, and now inside this error we need to write response.status, but this time the status number is gonna be 500 because it's gonna be error. The JSON block status is gonna be filled and error. Okay, so now to check if our API is working or not, you need to download a software called Postman. So just open the browser and right here download Postman. You need to click this link, and in here you need to click this Windows 64 byte, and it will download a copy of Postman for your machine, and just install that. Okay, once you have installed, you can open it in your desktop, and you will have this page here, and at first it may ask you to do some sign in or sign up. Okay, alright guys, now we need to add a new collection using this button, and you can see that we have a new collection. You can change the name, and I'm gonna name it contact app. Alright, and using this new button you can make an HTTP request. So if I click that, you can see the first one is HTTP. Just click that one. Okay, now in the left side you can see the type of the HTTP request, which is GET for now, and in the right side you can write the URL of your API. Okay, now I'm gonna write my URL API/contact, and if you click the left side you can see different kind of HTTP requests. Alright, now if I click this send, you can see that my text is printed in here. Alright, okay guys, now let's check our create API. So in this case I'm gonna choose post, and following that you need to write create. Alright, now down here you can see we have body, so just click body, and from here you need to choose JSON because our texts are gonna be in JSON. Okay, now inside here you need to add a block and just write all your inputs here with a text field. Okay, now if you click this button, okay, we have an error, okay, because we are using JSON in this application. So we need to come back to the index.js and write app.use express.json. So this code will active the JSON text. Okay guys, so I just forget to add this new keyword before this Mongo storage schema. Make sure to add that because that is important. Alright, just come back, and if we click the send button again, you can see that we have successfully added our data to our database. Alright, now if I go back to the MongoDB database, in here if I click this browse collections, you can see that we have a new collection here called contact and our data. Okay. Alright guys, we have successfully created our data inside the database. Now we need to make a request to display all the data. So I just come back and I'm gonna write here try and catch block. Okay, and again I'm gonna have a new variable called all contacts is equal to await contact.find. So this find method will help us find all the data inside the database. Alright, now down here we need to copy and paste this again, and I'm gonna change this variable name to be all contacts, and again I'm gonna copy and paste this error message. Alright, now let's check it inside the Postman. Now inside the Postman, as you can see, I have changed the request to be get, and I just removed the create route from here. Okay, now if I click the send, you can see that we have two data inside our database. Alright, so I'm gonna come in down here, create a new contact user, and now we need to get single contact user. Okay, so I'm gonna write route.get, but this time we need to get using the ID. So I'm gonna write /ID following that request response. Okay, now we need to get the ID of the single user. So I'm gonna write const ID is equal to request.params.id, and this request.params.id will help us get the ID dynamically. Okay, so down here we need to write a try and catch block, and again we need to have a variable is equal to await contact.find by ID, and inside this parenthesis we need to write this ID. Okay, again I'm gonna copy the status from here and paste it down here. Okay, now I'm gonna change the variable again, and similar to that I'm gonna copy this error message here. Alright, now if I copy this ID from here and following this contact, I'm gonna write this ID. So using this get method I will get this single user. Okay, now you can see that I just get the single user. Alright, let's check another user. So I'm gonna copy another user's ID and I'm gonna paste that here. You can see that I just get another user. Okay, now let's make another request. So I'm gonna copy and paste the whole function down here. So this time we need to update our user. So before this dynamic ID we need to write a route for update, and now down here instead of this find by ID we need to write find by ID and update and pass this ID. But inside this parenthesis we need to send a new data as well. So the new data is gonna be request.body. So this is gonna be a new text that we are replacing with the existing text. Okay, but this time it's not gonna be a get request, it's gonna be a put request. Alright, now I'm gonna come back to Postman, and again I'm gonna change this request to be put. And down here you can see that the name is Ahmad Amir, so I'm gonna change that. But before we need to write update here because it is update route. Alright, and make sure to write a new text here. So I'm gonna write updated. And if I click the send button, now I'm gonna delete this whole ID and update route. And if I check that again inside the GET request, okay, you can see that the name is changed. It means that our API is working perfectly. Alright, now we are done with this request. Let's copy and paste that, and this time we make a delete request. So I'm gonna write delete here in this route, and it's gonna be a delete request. Alright, again we need to change this method to contact.find by ID and remove. Now I'm gonna pass this ID here, okay, and by the way, you need to change this variable's name because you need to have unique variable name for each HTTP request. So I'm gonna change here to be updated user and here to be removed user, okay. Alright, now I'm gonna come back to the Postman, and this time we need to have a delete request. Again, I'm gonna write delete and paste this ID here, okay. If I click this send, you can see we get our single user back, but if we check the whole database, you can see that that user is not exist anymore. It means that the user is deleted from the database. Okay guys, now if I check inside the database in MongoDB, you can see that we have only one user in here. Alright guys, we are almost done with the HTTP request. So the final HTTP request is gonna be uploading image. So for that cause, I have installed the Mart library, so it will help us upload our image. So I just come back to the index.js. In here I'm gonna write upload image. I'm gonna comment it out, okay. Now first of all, we need to import Mart, and down here we need to write const storage is equal to Mart.disk storage. Alright, so inside this object we need to have two properties. The first one is gonna be destination, which specify where our image should be uploaded. So it's gonna be request file and callback function. And down here we need to get the callback function. The first parameter is gonna be null. The second one is gonna be the path where we are gonna upload our image. So in this case, it's gonna be upload. So I just come back, and inside the server, you need to have a new folder and call that upload. Make sure to match the name because it's gonna be our image destination, okay? And the second property is gonna be file name. And in this case, we are gonna specify what our file's name should be, okay? We need to write the callback function again and null, and in this case we need to write request.body.name, so it will get the name of our image. Okay, now you need to merge that inside the Mart. So in this case we are gonna write const upload is equal to Mart, storage is equal to storage. So it's coming inside the Mart library. So don't worry if you don't understand that, just follow along, okay? So down here, we need to write a post request. The path is gonna be API/upload. And just write upload.single and just pass this file string here. Following that, you need to have request response. And again, you need to write the status here, okay? And in this case, we need to write a message, image has been uploaded. Alright, that's it. We are done with uploading our image. Now let's test that inside the Postman. So I just come back here. In this case, we need to choose a post request again. And we need to change the URL that we just write here, API/upload. Okay. And this time we are gonna choose form data. because we are going to upload the images using form data. Okay, and again the type is going to be file because we need to upload an image here. In here you need to choose your image. So in this case I'm going to choose this image. You need to write a description here. Okay, we have an error. That's because we have written here request.body.name, and because Postman cannot give a dynamic name, we need to change here with another name. So in this case I'm going to write image.png. okay, now inside here you need to specify a key. So if you remember, inside upload.single we have passed this file key. Now you need to write here file. Okay, now if I click send, you can see that we have the message image has been uploaded. And let's check it inside the upload folder. You can see that the image exists here. We have successfully uploaded our image to the server. Alright guys, that's all the HTTP requests that we need to do in this project. We are done with the backend side. Now let's move to the front end side.